Hi guys, in this week's episode of Taylor Talks Trades, we are with James Brannan from Brannan Investments. We're talking to him about how he sold a couple of businesses, his journey in property, and we asked him the big question, is he living the dream? I hope you enjoy. Hi James, welcome to Taylor Talks Trades.
Brilliant, thanks for having me.
I'll start where I always start. How did you get into the trades?
Wow, so left school at 15 actually, just before I turned 16. Went into greenkeeping. I'm passionate about golf, love playing golf. Wasn't educated growing up, but just was really passionate about playing golf. And I applied to my local golf course where I played at Kilsyth Lennox to become a greenkeeper. Never had aspirations to be into business or anything like that, but just started as a greenkeeper. I think the perk of that was when you become a greenkeeper, you don't pay for a golf membership.
Oh,
so
right.
that was a big selling point for me. So I started as a greenkeeper, done that for a number of years, and I suppose but in a golf course, so an 18-hole golf course, got a wee bit boring for me, if I'm really honest. It was the kind of same routine in a 18-hole golf course. You've got the same routine Monday to Saturday, and I suppose in life I wanted to do something a wee bit more with my time. As I said, I never had aspirations to have a big massive business or employ people. It was kind of just, I was just in it for myself. And I left that after doing my apprenticeship, and I went on a wee bit of a journey. And my first journey was setting up domestic gardenings. So I was basically just printing out leaflets, going and hand delivering them to doors, and I just set up a business doing domestic gardening, chapping doors,
Cutting
doing
grass, all this kind of stuff.
Full thing, cutting grass, doing all that. But that became very, very seasonal, as you could imagine. Summertime, it feels as if you're great, life's good, you're busy, you're out cutting. And then the winter time, when it comes to people for Christmas time needing to pay for kids' presents, different things, people know what to spend money necessarily in gardening. And I never really done infrastructure work like driveways and things like that, the kind of work all year round. It was mainly the gardening side I had. So it was very, very seasonal. So it was difficult in the winter time. So
And what happened then? So did you need to find a way to counteract that, or?
So what actually happened is in 2013 I had enough of being in the industry altogether. I had these things. I just wanted to get a secure job. I had this thing in my head. I want to make 30 to 40 grand a year, company car, and I'll be happy the rest of my life. So I actually went and handed out 100 CVs to 100 different companies, and I never get one response at all. I never get one response. My CV wasn't that impressive.
It's probably because you're like fending for yourself a wee bit. The way you're like, oh, I'm really good at like doing gardening and this, and it's like, I
think for applying for the CEO of Coca-Cola, I never went doing that well, if I'm honest. So no, I handed out 100 CVs just to companies where I think I could. It wasn't like a Starbucks, but it was companies that are like engineering companies, things like that, where I could maybe come in at the low end and hopefully progress. So I handed out 100 CVs 2013, like November time, and never get one response. And over the kind of Christmas period into 2014, I just get this real vision about going and setting up a commercial ground maintenance business rather than doing domestic. Is going into commercial and focusing more on doing work for commercial clients, because I felt that they could sustain me throughout the year and I could diversify my offerings. At the time, at that time, I didn't think I'd be getting into gritting and tree surgery and different tarring and different things. It was kind of just my gardening thing. I could maybe sustain that. I could do more hedge work and bigger clients.
Because they would still need to upkeep that. Commercially, it is a bit different. They've got to keep the grounds tidy. Would this be like hospitals and just
hospitals, schools, retail parks, factories, and with the residential, people are doing factoring work. I don't know if you stay in a house in a state, what happens is you pay your factoring fee. And what happens is the guys come in.
Factor bolted, to be honest.
Have you sent them a wee dodgy email?
No. When I moved into the scheme, I asked about it, and everybody said, "Oh, we don't know what happened to them." Nobody's really taken care of it. So if I get any inspiration for the day, I'll maybe set up a new factor or something. But
we decided not to go into factoring, because the thing is that you've got so many. Your minimum 2 people in a house, maybe 1 person in a house, up to 5. There's 5 complaints potentially there, and what happens is, we've had that bad winter, raining all the time, bad summer sometimes, so the guys are out cutting grass, and it's very hard to no like grass going to like verges and grass everywhere. So you've got a lot of complaints. So I just decided I didn't want to stay in that industry. I wanted to focus more on business to business.
Yeah.
No disrespect to business owner, but when they come into this industrial estate, they're not necessarily always looking at the grounds. I tend to do it because I was in the industry.
Yeah.
You're always looking at, when I'm coming in here initially, I'm looking at the building names and you're not aware of it.
Yeah.
But when you stay in a house and you're coming in the same place all the time, you do become very conscious of the grounds, because you're paying for a service. You want the best value for money. You might have had a bad day. You want to project that to your factor. So I decided to focus more on commercial work. So that was quite a big step of faith for me personally, because it wasn't just going handing out leaflets. It was literally, I need to look at accreditations here. I need to look at better systems. I need to know how to scale up. And it was a bit of a learning curve.
That's the thing with these companies. It's like you've kind of got to get your ISOs and like your sort of all your health and safety stuff, everything really ticking all them boxes. It can be quite a challenge, but once you do it, it's quite, because it is a wee bit a higher barrier to entry. Almost, it's like you can really do quite well in that market, which it seems to be like you did. Whereas, like, I suppose, without disrespecting anybody, it's like anybody can probably just go and start cutting grass, and for homeowners, the same as anybody could probably just go and start fixing roofs for homeowners. Do you know, it's like you've sometimes got to find something with the accreditations and the different things to differ it. So so that was going into kind of 2014. Is that where JBB Ground Care sort of forms? That's where it's born.
It was January, February time we started that.
And then where does the journey kind of go for there then?
So it basically started at my old house in Cumbernauld. So just rebranded. It was that kind of exciting time where I was getting the logos together, designing it myself, and I just decided I wanted to really focus in commercial. So my wife at that time was a pharmacist, so her salary kind of sustained us over the first year or so. So I was able to cover bills while I put a bit of focus into the business. But the wife started the business with me. She's always been there and behind the scenes.
Brilliant.
Academically, email wise, even up to this date, I've never sent one invoice, even though I've turned over several million. I've never sent one invoice in my life.
I struggle to get an email back for you, so I'm going to vouch for that.
Very true, actually. So just phone me if you need anything. So I know the wife's always been in it. So she was doing the pharmacy, but behind the scenes at night time and weekends. So I just went on a bit of a journey. What I initially done is, rather than trying to take over the world and know all the clients, what I decided to do was piggyback some of the bigger companies. I'm not going to mention any of their names, but I decided to piggyback some of the bigger companies to really...
And so subcontract into them, but they had really good service for them, so
so what they had suppliers for them. There's quite a lot of the big... There's boys in our industry that turn over 300 million, UK companies, but they just use subcontractors. So we subcontracted to them, so we done ground maintenance, hedge work, and then we eventually, a few years into it, diversified into gritting. But rather than just doing it ourselves, why not do it with these guys and do the mistakes with these guys? See where their client base is, and then that's where the kind of journey went. Is we subcontracted for them, as well as doing. I still did keep my original domestic clients. Just as a kind of wee nest fund. It wasn't massive by no means, but it was keeping a few guys busy.
Sometimes feel a wee bit kind of like you owe something to them as well.
100%.
You didn't want to kind of drop them. Like we've seen that, and like we're probably more predominantly private homeowner, but like when we do make that commercial step out at times, I'm like, there's still something about them. It's almost because they were the bread and butter, and that's 100%. What got us to where we are. So you always kind of try and cater for them.
I can once we go on, I can tell you a wee story about that in a wee while, which is actual where it came from something to become a massive thing. But so just really focused in doing commercial work. So as well as I was still on the tools at this point, so I was still kind of juggling a few plates. I was going and trying to go to networking events, like BNI and Business Gateway and different things like that. And I always looked at other companies that were in my industry. I suppose to be inspired by what they're doing and what are they doing right and what they're doing wrong. And I'm not here to try and reinvent the wheel. I'm want to take what everybody's doing and try and make it the best I can. And
choose the good bits and drop the bad bits.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. There was a few guys even when I went into the gritting industry. There was loads of different gritters you could have bought. There's 5 different brands, but who's the main guys that are really smashing this out the park? What are they using? Why are they using it? How long have they been in the industry?
Makes sense.
So I just went on a bit of a journey, just networking, building relationships with people, and just, you know, building. My business was never built on tenders, and we've done one tender in our life, and we won it for Scottish Ambulance Service, and that was it, and it was the worst price we ever, honestly, we resented doing it. It was just one of the ones we priced to do the national contract, and we won one with region, and it was as if we were cutting our grass for free. So I kind of just stayed away from that, and what I wanted to really do was build good, strong relationships. Like you, if I was a relationship with you and you owned this estate, I want to look after you.
Yeah, definitely.
No like backhanders or anything. We've never done anything like that in business. Just build good relationships and make your
reliable,
life be reliable.
Do what you say you're going to do, and that's it. It's like people start to go, well, we can rely on that.
And make your life hassle free. If you need to focus on running these businesses, if you own these, then you shouldn't need to worry about outside. And that's what I always offered. Is I always made sure I was hands-on at the start. Is I made that place feel like my own home. If I drive in here, what do I want to see? I want to blow people out of the water, and that's what at the very start I worked hard with my early staff to really build that reputation going forward.
And how far did you go then? What, you get your drink of your tea? So how far did this go? Like, what kind of staff levels did you get to? What if turnover's relevant to you? Like, what kind of turnovers were you doing? Like, was this?
For me, I know turnover is a whole vanity thing. I remember. Sorry if I'm getting back a wee bit here.
No, didn't be daft.
I remember Hub Southwest. Have you heard of Hub Southwest?
I don't think so. No.
So you've got different hubs that work with the tier 1 contractors.
Oh, right.
So you work like Morrison's, Kier, different guys like that. And I can remember my wife was on it's called the Building for Growth programme, right before, it was when she left the pharmacy and came in, and I remember being on that, and there's delegates, and you're basically pitching to these big boys to get in the door. And I remember being there, and there's companies. One of the guys I'm joining tonight at St Andrews was one of the delegates on that. He's turning over 3 million. 4 million, 10 million, and then JBB, how much do you turn over at this point, right back at the start? And Lindsay's like 180,000, and my heart sunk.
Oh man!
It was like this, you know, it's a prideful thing. You want to be going, 15 million a turnover, cutting the grass, 15 million. But it was but it was this thing that really sunk in me when I found that out. About what we turned over compared to others, but other people have been building their businesses. This was like year 1 or 2.
Shows you what's possible as well, though.
Yeah,
because you probably sat in that room and went, "They're all human, just like me."
Yeah, totally. But something shifted in my life that day. It wasn't about turnover. I wanted to make sure my margins were the best margins they could be. I wasn't caring. I didn't want to be a 1 million, 2, 3, 4 million business. I wanted to be the most profitable business in my industry, and I probably could say the margins, and that's why we sold for what we sold, is because we had a very strong, profitable business. So it was an exciting journey to get to where we're at. We got to, in our max, even for the size we were, I think we got to about 22 staff, but we used a lot of subcontractors. We had subcontractors based Dumfries and Galloway, Gala Shields, Aberdeen, Peterhead, Inverness.
It makes sense if you're covering. Was it fully Scotland? Did you cover in England as well?
Fully Scotland. We done work for City Refrigeration down there, so we done a few Asda's refresh projects, but most of the time was Scotland.
It's kind of good to have a bit of a subcontract model there, though, because it's like that's quite difficult.
It's hard sometimes, but to find the right guys that will deliver, especially up north. I don't want to put them down, but there's a different breed, to be honest with you, and try to get them onto the same way of thinking. If your standards, and you've won a national care home contract, when I say national I mean Scotland, sorry, but if you've got these standards and you've got a facility guy going, that's amazing down here, but up there's just and it was hard trying to work with that, but we ended up building a good subcontractor base. So I think all in there could have been we had maybe about 10 different subcontractors, and sometimes they had 4 or 5 guys working. We could have self-delivered and been bigger, but we were getting good margins on our subcontractors, so it worked really well for us. But we really worked to build the best margins we could possible, and
Yeah.
that came through building good, tangible, strong relationships with
Yeah.
people and delivering good standards.
So it didn't come about sort of almost like that race to the bottom, like the tender, the cheapest one might win or whatever. It was
No.
more kind of, they probably paid maybe a wee bit more, but they
Yep.
got what they needed.
Yep, and exactly, and I felt that I don't want to be, because sometimes for the outset you want people to see you've got 50 vans and you're running, but I think you're running
Sometimes
about.
doesn't mean that.
No, it doesn't mean anything.
More headaches.
I've got friends who I could tell you about, they're
Aye.
running about like headless chickens now, and they look, for the outset you're like, wow, these guys, but actually they're in a bit of turmoil, they've got so many payments going out, they've got this, and we weren't like that at all. We got opportunity to go to that level, but I knew the margins in that diversing into like factoring work and housing association, the margins were, it was a race to the bottom. You're a busy fool, so why would I want to be like that? And I got in debt when before I got into business, so it made me be very wise when I became a business owner to be very wise with my money, rather than just going and taking loads of leases out in vehicles and staffing up and scaling up and not being careful, because cash is king, as the saying goes, and it's good to have a good cash flow there when you're growing and building a business.
Absolutely, makes sense. So where did we kind of move to from there then? So it didn't just jump to you kind of sort of selling the business. I know that you sold it, but like what made you be sellable as such? What was the, because there must have been some point where you had to go, right, the systems and processes and everything. Surely I'm thinking for a buyer coming in must have been, the margin was good. So you've said that, like it was the systems and the processes, that was all quite tight and stuff. And
no, I think I'm going to be really honest here. Actually, I still, up until I sold my business, running my business for a diary.
Aye.
I was obsessed with my diary. My wife missed me not having the business now, because I used to religiously write every job in the diary. And you can imagine at one point when we've got 15 vans in the road with guys, and I'm writing down every job down and money. And I used to screenshot it every night and send it to my wife, and she'd put it in her computer. As much as we looked at loads of different systems, it worked. But I think one of the game changers for me personally was on building the business and building good relationships with clients and them giving us their portfolios and that building. It was the key to getting to the next level for me was building a good team round about. And then, as I says, my wife was in the business. So fortunate enough, within 2-3 years of me starting, she was able to leave her pharmacy job and come in full time to the business. And I think it was so good in business having that. It was difficult for the first few years because all I talked about with work, and it was very hard to get that downtime, get that couple time.
I can relate to that. Like, that's me and my wife now, you know, we're still kind of grinding through it all, and it's like you work on it all day, and we're kind of segregated within the business, so we take care of different parts. And then when we come home at night, it's almost like, how did your bit go? How did it can? And it's just like it just never stops, and it's actually 24/7. And I think there is it's difficult, like, to actually, how do you step away from that when it's we've built our life entirely around the business probably, and kind of vice versa, if that makes sense. So it's like it almost does become to a point like one of your kids.
It totally does.
It just so is. So
I think it is important, but to get time out of that.
Yeah, and we're trying to kind of.
There is what you need to get wisdom in that, because I do see my father-in-law's got a very successful business, but his business is his God, or his other baby, and his life's in it, and but I found that being able to take time away from the business is I grew more in the business actually. And going to the next level, I think the key and the game changer for me, and if I'm really honest actually, rather than saying it was a certain thing, I get diagnosed in 2014. So basically what happened, I was on the tools all the time, hands-on in the tools, and I was very wanted to deliver all the jobs, because I've came from a greenkeeping background here. I know the standards. I had a team round about me, but I felt if I always had to kind of be there to help them at the very start, and I remember sometimes when I would drop the guys off and come back to the client would sometimes say, "Oh, it's not got the James standard, or it's not got your standard," because it was my business. But basically in 2014, in this arm, overnight, from there down I lost power. and I don't know if you can see it, but this hand's totally fine, but this hand here,
I can see it's
not got power in it, and that's my hand fully out.
Yeah.
And so I lost power there, and then 6 months later, I lost power in this arm from here up. So I went through, I think, something like 18 MRI scans, CT scans, blood tests, and then eventually get diagnosed. Bear with me, this is a mouthful. I get diagnosed with a thing called Arnold-Chiari-Syrinx malformation, and basically what it is your spinal cord's like a tube, and my brain is plugged into my spinal cord and trapped my nerves. A lot of my friends would say it's because I don't use my brain and it's just sagged away. I tend to say it's because I've got a big massive brain and it's pushing out. So that happened, but do you know, that was actually a blessing that happened, because that helped me work on my business rather than in my business. And I don't know, I genuinely don't know if I would have took that. I don't know if I would have actually when I look back, because I did want to be in control of things, and no, I was overly controlling. I was passionate about what my standards.
Sometimes you get wrapped into it. It's like when you just think it's like, well, I should be on the tools. You know, there is a wee bit of kind of guilt, I would say, as business owners, when you step off the tools and you start working on the business. You start to think, oh, well, my guys think, well, I'm just no on the tools now, I'm lazy now, or what? They didn't see what you're doing behind the scenes and that you're making all this work. So it makes a lot of sense. What happened, similar story, but no under the same circumstances, but we got a wee puppy, and it went out the back garden, was running about, and my wife Kelly went out to get it, and we had just kind of moved into that house, and there was basically, the drainage was really bad. So probably could have been doing your services here to get it sorted, but
you still need done,
we've moved now, thankfully. But it was a bit of a swamp at the back, and she went out to get the puppy, and like basically snapped her leg in two places. So it was just, at first I was actually like, it can't be that bad. Like I just thought, oh, she just went out on it, but then I actually looked at her leg and it was dangling, like it was snapped. So I was like, oh my God. But at that point, like our business I was just getting to this point where I'd started maybe, I'd read books like the E-Myth. I was thinking about coming off the tools, but I hadn't quite made that step. And then my wife basically did everything for us. She still does. It's like she'll look after the kids, she looks after the house, she works in the business. Like she's just a superhuman, to be honest. But at that point, when she snapped her leg, it was like, I think it was like January time, and she went into hospital, and it was like, it took like 6 weeks or something before I can't remember, there was like 6 weeks or so, she was like, either had been waiting on the op, or like, do you know, it was complications. It wasn't just a normal break, it snapped in two places. And during that time, I just had to literally not go and be on the tools. So I had a couple of squads at that time, and basically I was like, look, you'll need to go to this job, you'll need to do that. Then I was doing the school run, I was looking after the puppy, I was going in and out of hospital to see her. I was kind of balancing like the mother-in-law, like trying to be like, can you help me here? Can you do this? And she was telling me how she would do everything. And I was like, I've never done this before. It was mad. It was a crazy time. But that was maybe the game changer for us, because I was like you, would have came off them tools fully, would have been able to actually prize myself away. But then when I looked at that, and actually in the business during that time, the guys got on good. I had wee quality control checks, whereas they would just send us in WhatsApp photos at the end of the day to say, this is what we've done, boss, blah, 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 this is all good. And I'd go, oh, can we do this, can we do that, can we maybe tidy that before you go, or whatever. And I just went, this is achievable. And that was it, and that was a game changer. So it's interesting to hear your
game
story.
changer, knowing guys working for you. I know it sounds so simple now, the journey we're on, but guys generating you money while you're elsewhere, it was game changing.
It's leverage, isn't it? And I think if you want to probably be successful in business, and not be sort of a self-employed business owner, which is probably a bit different, you're going to have leverage, and you're going to need to get over the fact that there will be people working with you or for you, and you can leverage that. And if you maybe take 3 days off, these 30 odd people, we're up to 30 odd staff now, them 30 odd people, they still generate that income, and the business still moves. We're probably at a place as well where it's like, if somebody said, would your business run without you, I would say probably, maybe not quite to the standard I would hope yet. And it's like, would it grow without you? And I would probably say no. So like that, me working on the business all the time, then I was to probably get this to be able to sustain itself and grow. And I think that's like, that's a big challenge. But no,
definitely.
Thanks for sharing that, mate, because it really resonates as well. Because it's actually probably, probably actually even more so for you because like you physically couldn't work.
Yep.
So
I went on a bit of a journey with that because
Yep.
that now transpired into me need to go for brain surgery.
wow,
I was getting cut from the top of my head to the bottom of my neck, and a lot of fear come in. I mean, I was in quite a bad place, kind of mentally, in that kind of season. As much as I was still running a business, but fortunate enough, my neurosurgeon basically says that if it goes into my legs next, then I'll need to go for the op. But actually, we met the neurosurgeon in 2000, just pre-lockdown, 2019. Me and my wife went in and met him. So remember, we were on the journey for 2014 right through. In 2019, we went back in just for a checkup. And my doctor, his name's Dr. Bhattacharya.
Right.
He's an Indian guy, but he's like an Indian comedian.
Right.
I mean, see, the first time I met him to talk about brain surgery, he's like to me looking at my scan results going, it's no good. And automatically when you say that, my wife was about greeting, he's like, I don't think I can do anything with your face, it's too far gone. And at this point just started, my wife knows what I'm like, I'm in stitches, laughing like crazy. You obviously I sensed that I needed that. But I went on a bit of a journey. But we met in 2019 with another junior doctor. So in an environment, it's like us two sitting here, these guys where they are. And the junior doctor's looking at the scan results and saying to Dr. Bhattacharya, this isn't James Brannan that's sitting here. He thought, because he knows he's a wind-up, he thought he gave him the fake scan results.
Right.
He says, no, this is definitely James Brannan that's sitting here. Tell James and Lindsay why you don't think it is. Well, looking at their scan results, this guy, James, should be paralysed.
Wow.
And I'm not a big crier, but I burst out. I opened the floodgates that day, and and since then, been able to do Kilimanjaro, Everest, and it's just been a real blessing. Actually, it's been, I know I wasn't part of the.
No,
sorry,
that's amazing. That's inspirational.
Yeah.
And what do you think happened then? What do you think caused that? Were you working on your mindset? Were you?
What caused me what? Sorry.
Like just almost like the comeback to that, if you know what I mean, because surely if you laid into that in some way, then that would have maybe got worse.
Yeah.
Like, did you work on your mind? Did you do something that you think?
I'm actual part of a church in Cumbernauld. I became a Christian when I was 19. I lost my dad when I was 15, and my dad was previous to me being born. My dad had other children, and he was an alcoholic. But when I was born, all growing up until my dad passed away, my dad and mum was never brought up in a drinking environment or smoking or it was as if my dad, the way he couldn't show my brothers, he showed me the love and affection. So I was brought up in a really great environment. And then when I lost my dad at 15, I went a wee bit wild for it. I gave my mum a real hard time out swallowing in cells at the weekend. Nothing crazy, just like now drunken disorderly, smashing windows.
Normal Scottish stuff.
Aye, normal Scottish. Normal Bathgate stuff like that.
Aye, you're in Bathgate, mate. It's cool. I know all about it.
So I just went through a season of really doing that, and my life was just broken, to be honest. I was in and out of relationships. I was in the cells once or twice a month, doing weekenders, just be doing really silly things. And I ended up getting one of the guys that I met, invited me along to a church, and I actually says to him, is there any good looking birds at the church? And he just says, I had to get me along and that really, me personally, gave my life to Jesus, and that's what's really transformed me, if I'm really honest. It's helped me get through it. And even at the time when this happened, I did question my relationship, and I did let a lot of fear come in, but I think that helped me personally get over the line, definitely. And having a good wife round about me that loves me and supports me and encourages me, that was great.
Amazing. And then, so the business sold, what year was that then?
2021, I sold the business. Right. So the reason you were asking earlier, how do you gear up to sell a business? So we went through Entrepreneurial Scotland, and they can assign you a business mentor. So we done that in 2018 maybe, 2019. So they gave us a list of people that's either like CEOs or company or somebody that sold a business. So we went through a list, and we eventually chose one of these guys, and it was a guy called Les Meikle. So Les owned the Wise Group, so Wise Not Weed, Wise Propagate, Dry Rot, and different things. And so we met him, and we started a kind of relationship when we were meeting once a month. And I remember, and I don't mind saying this, but the first like 4 times I met him, we weren't really
Like it wasn't
on the same page and stuff. I wasn't really feeling the kind of relationship. If he sees this, he'll be, no, you never told me that. But we never like, had that.
Stuck with it though, so it's all right.
We never really had that connection, and I was all automatically thinking, him coming in as this, he would just do this
magic wand,
and that's it. Life would be business. I'd be turning over. I think at that point we're turning over 30 grand a month, and he says, set a goal of getting to like 50 grand a month, and I was like, well, I don't really know if I can do that. How do I scale up? But it was just it was a sounding board. He's built a business up to £12 million and sold it and done very well. So it was just it was a great thing for me and Lindsay to basically bring all our kind of, these are where we're thinking about taking it. What's your thoughts on it as a sounding board? And that was a real...
It's like a non-exec kind of position in a way, isn't it? It's, and they're few and far between to actually get in contact with somebody like that, so that's quite good.
Definitely.
And then was he encouraging the sort of
100%. It's because he was a step ahead, already sold. He was saying, I'm big on goals. Every year, like over the festive period, me and my wife will set personal business, we'll set goals, and he was saying you need to take that to the next levels. You need to look, what does the next 5 years look like? What does the next 10 years look like? I found it a bit hard to map that out and be very clear, but he was saying you need to set goals. Is your business a sellable business? What would look good for a client coming in and selling? What is a good business to sell? So he got us onto that way of thinking, and I always knew that I was going to sell my business to the company I sold to. As much as I could have put it to the market and got a lot of people in, I really liked the company Nurture Landscapes I sold to. I really liked the managing director at the time, or the owner, Pete Fair. I really liked him as a person, and I knew a few of them, and I just felt something in my heart. These are the guys I really want to sell to, is because I've got a family business. They've been built on a family business. Yeah, fair enough, they're few £100 million turnover business now, but I like the way they work compared to, and I subcontracted them years and years prior, and subcontracted other guys, and I knew their kind of, what their staff were like, and what their kind of, I wouldn't want to hand my clients over, because it was quite hard. Selling my business was quite a difficult time for us, actually. I know it sounds great, selling a business, and
a lot of emotion in
there. A lot of emotion, and you mentioned it earlier on, it was like selling a baby, or giving away a baby. Honestly, it was really difficult for us, and you know, seeing that money coming in the bank the day we signed, it didn't really satisfy me, if I'm honest. I know that a lot of people would say, but I think the thing that made me proud in business is, you'll be the same. See, when you go out after some lesson, you go out and you see all the vans about, and you drive in the road, and you're like, actually, I've started something here that's
created something that's evolved,
paying mortgages, holidays, different things, and these guys rely on this business that that used to just blow me away, and being able to be in control of my own time. But it was amazing. I always knew I would sell to these guys. I never thought it would be so soon, if I'm honest. I thought it would be we kind of mapped out 5 to 10 years away. But I had an accident 2021. I don't know if I should be admitting this online, but it went quite really serious. So 2021, I decided I'm scaling my business up. I'm going to the next level. I've already earmarked a few sales guys. I was about to really go, and I was financially wise, and I don't mind sharing this, but I had £1 million in my trading account. The year before, we done a 850 net profit. The year I sold, we were just under £1 million net profit. So for a small business, the margins are absolutely tremendous. So we had quite a bit of capital there, ready to scale up. And I decided to get the girls to work from home. I had plans to do an extension at the side of my yard to put a hardcore in and build salt bays, rather than try to run it from ton sacks, to have a proper big salt bay where. So I never put the right things in place. I hired a company in initially to do all the works, but they were, the cost they were charging, I was like, we'll just self-deliver it. So I got a digger driver in, and a big massive digger. He started digging. I was just so caught up in busyness of life, never done the proper checks. Hit a mains power cable. 11,000, so coming into here will be a bit different, but into a house it's 240 volt. We hit a 11,000 kV volt. I was standing next to it. exploded. The blast hit me. My jacket melted onto my skin. My down jacket. I'll show you photos. This hand was in the pocket. My jacket melted onto my hand. Honestly, it was the scariest thing that's happened in my life. So that happened the year I sold my business. I didn't even know I was selling my business this year. This happened in February. It was actually just 2 years past in 2 days ago or something that happened.
Oh my God.
My wife remembered. So this happened. So we knocked out power for 3 industrial estates, farm foods, main distribution, full thing knocked out, everything knocked out, gyms, all the businesses, everybody had to go. But I'm in an ambulance. One of my other staff got hit a wee bit. The digger driver was fine, but the big digger, blew a hole in the metal bucket.
Oh man. So
I'm in the ambulance, took into hospital, and I'm just in this total trance, and it was a scary point. I had to go into hospital every second day for, I think it was a month, because they didn't think, you'd see this hand's fine now, and I can show you photos later on, but this hand was really in a bad way, and ended up going on that year. I think that got my brain thinking, is what's actually...
Maybe a bit.
I'd recommend it, actually, every so often, give yourself a wee shock. So I never get hit with a shock. If I get hit with a shock, I'd be dead.
Jesus, give me another sign, man.
Aye, so I need either a sign like that or like a brain hang. So I'm not asking for any other signs now. I don't want to.
God. You better get a bit more specific.
Maybe a wee bit of rain or something. I'll stick with that. So so that happened, and I think that got my brain onto kind of thinking, could I sell it now? Yeah. And the guy that run Nurture in Scotland always said that before he kind of retired, they would like to buy our business or do an acquisition. So I says, listen, let's explore it.
Yeah.
I was always nervous about, what if I give you all my clients, all my staff, and you just decide not to buy me and go and steal all my clients? So you enter into a due diligence period, and you sign a non-disclosure and different things like that. But you don't actually give your staff names. You give staff 1, staff 2, staff 3, or client A, client B.
Yeah.
So it was actually quite fine. So you sign into a disclosure with, I think it's up to 3. If the deal doesn't go through, they can't touch your clients for 3 years.
Yeah.
I says, no, I want 10 years. And they rejected it. I says, well, you'll not buy my business. But they were really desperate to buy my business because we were starting to take work off them. I probably could have took some of their staff. Where it actually transpired is the guy that became my director actually never get sacked. He get let go from Nurture Landscapes because he had COVID and a few things slipped. So they were letting him go. So he came on board with me. 6 months later, Nurture bought me. Now he's the head of Nurture for Scotland. It was just total bonkers. But the guy that was the head started the process, and he died of COVID right at the start. Wow. So it was quite a scary kind of, been involved with a guy that I've known for years. He died during the process, but they come back with a really, really nice offer. But being a businessman, I went back and counter offered it, and I asked, me personally, I just asked for a few signs, no electric shocks or thunderbolts. I asked if it's right, my wife will want to go to Barbados, something a wee bit better like that. So no, if it was the right thing, and I put a few things in place, and lo and behold, they come in with the right offer, and I decided that we would take it up. But we were none of my staff knew, nobody knew, because I didn't want to unsettle them and stuff like that. And it was probably the hardest thing I've ever done, having that meeting, telling my staff that I wasn't really hands-on in my business at that point, because I brought this new director in, and who's the head of Scotland. He was running the show, and then Lindsay was running the office. I was mainly developing the business, and I had the new knotweed businesses starting. I was doing a wee bit of property and stuff, so I was already involved in all that different things. But no, it was a great, the process for me getting sold. I've got friends now who try to sell their businesses, and it's very difficult to sell a business. But because we were such a strong cash-rich business, I've never had finance in my business at all. Everything we had, we bought. Every van was bought, our vehicle, Tesla, the new Discovery, everything we bought cash. I just decided, because I got in debt when I was younger, I wanted to everything. No, everybody's in that position, and it's hard if you're scaling up massively. It's hard to do that, but we were sitting with just under £1 million in the bank, and every single asset in our business was bought out, right? I think one of the Teslas had a interest-free 35 grand loan, but other than that, and Nurture are looking at us like, we've never bought a business like that.
Yep.
Usually the people in their 60s or 70s. I sold when I was 34, 34, my wife's 33. And I've owned a business for only gone 6-7 years. Usually businesses are 30, 40. My friend, I just helped him sell his business in England. His business was 100-year-old. He's inherited it and sold it. So it was kind of a rare thing, but I had a really cash-rich, strong business that was very desirable for them. We had a good client base that wasn't a race to the bottom clients. It was good, tangible, good, profitable work.
And what's happening now then? So how's the journey going for selling it and getting used to the life as it is now? Really? I
think for me, it's been a bit of a battle here. I'm saying to my wife, I don't feel if I've done anything, but I've ended up buying, I'm not saying this in a boastful way, but I've ended up investing about £3 million in property. So bought about 30 units. I've sold another business. I sold JBB Knotweed South to my director down there. I've been in Canada for a month. I was in Kilimanjaro.
Yep.
It's been...
Is this living the dream? Is that like, because to me, thinking of maybe one day selling my business, me and my wife almost getting a bit of freedom to go, we could maybe take a year off here. Is it that? Or is it... Didn't put me off because I'm still going.
No, do you know what is the dream? See, when I look back, there's times I go through and I'm like, do you know, I would really like...
just when you're in it now, it's like, you didn't see it as being the dream because you're like, well, this is, you know, it's the same, like...
Depends what satisfies you and what's the end goal for you and stuff like that. I think I genuinely enjoy business, but I think what I enjoyed in business was having the staff and having the bigger... I never set business up for money, and I know that sounds bonkers. I set business up to be in control of my own time. That was the main reason I set up business, was I didn't want to go and say, oh, Jamie, you're my boss, can I get a week off, or you can't get... I want to say, well, I'll take my time off. I want to go golfing today, I'll go golfing. So that's why I set up business. But for me, it definitely is the dream. But depends how you are as a person. You've got kids, so you've got a different... Me and my wife have been on a journey for kids now. We're going down the treatment route. So we're in a bit of a different journey. I think when we have kids, it will change. But for me, you sometimes want to move on to the next thing and get busy. But when I look back and I mean, these winters, I never used to relax in the winter time because we've got grit in the snow cleaner. I used to get phone calls at 1, 2, 3 in the morning, and I've got meetings all day. Same routine all the time. I go to my bed now and sleep like a puppy.
Wow.
Absolutely sleep like a puppy. And I love it. And it is a dream. And I think for me, when you get the money that we got, have you read Rich Dad Poor Dad?
Yep.
For me, that was a game changer. I'm not an educated guy. It was the actual first book I've read in my life. Since then, I've been trying to read more. But see, we work hard for money. We graft for money. We put in the hours. But when we get money, make that work harder for us.
Yep.
So I had the choice to keep the money in the bank and just go and do what I want, or do I actually make that...
Leverage it again.
Leverage it again and make it work hard for me. So fortunate enough now, I've been able to set up Brannan Investments Limited, which is a business that buys commercial property. I've always wanted to do commercial. I've got a few previous to myself, so I buy industrial and retail and land throughout Scotland. Usually buy with sitting tenants with good yields. I'm not trying to look for massive capital appreciation like you can do sometimes in houses. They say they go up everything. I don't want to do that. I want to buy commercial, because with commercial, your landlord insurance, your tenants are never to pay for, and you do full repair and leases. If you lease your place now, you'll know, well, this place, for example, if you rented this out, you're responsible. If the electricity goes, fix it. But if it's a residential house, the landlord needs to come in, and the landlord insurance, you need to pay it. So I've decided to focus in commercial property, and it's really paid off. It's took me some great places. So we've built up a nice portfolio. I think I spoke to you, I'm concluding on a big 6-acre land site at the moment with, I can't mention the company that's going in, but their company's going in and taking a 10-year lease, and it's a very, very...
I'll ask you just to maybe get the ground checks done on that one. That's been awesome, mate. I think that kind of wraps us up. Thanks for taking us through that journey. It's really inspirational, and a lot of wee funny stories in there too. You're kind of cost a wee bit, but you know, we're laughing, but it's like that was big signs
Yeah.
that came to you. But thanks again for your
No,
time,
listen,
mate.
thanks
Brilliant.
you guys.
Brilliant, mate.